The chair recognizes the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank the ranking member Lee also for putting forward this hearing today. Thank you all for your testimony. For those who are the victims of violent crime, I'm thinking particularly of your little boy. My heart goes out to all of you, and I thank you for telling your stories, because your stories are in search of solutions. That's what this committee ought to be about, searching for solutions, not finger pointing at a single DA, or let's just say it's the entire Biden administration's fault that there are violent crimes in this country. We are more serious than that. We must be more serious than that. I know that I have cared about the issue of gun violence my entire adult life, and I'm here in Congress. It is one of my most important passions to make a difference, and that's why I'm very proud that last year we did pass the Safer Communities Act, and I look forward to learning how violence interruption grants and others are making a difference. It's the first time in 30 years that Congress did anything around gun violence. So join us in these solutions is what I suggest to every member of Congress. It's distressing to hear of violence here in D.C., which has become my second home. But it's not unique to here. I'm from the Philadelphia suburbs. Philadelphia is the city I call home. It is not unique to here. It is sadly a nationwide epidemic. And one of the big issues is the number of guns on the street. And to your point, Mr. Simpson, the number of young people, children, with illegal guns. So Deputy Mayor Apaya, could you help me? How do the laws in and around D.C. affect guns in D.C.? Where are these guns coming from? Do we have gun manufacturers in D.C. that are selling guns?
No.
Okay. Where are the guns coming from?
As I said, so our neighbors to the north in Maryland and to the south in what's the I-95 corridor of Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia are the primary locations where illegal guns are coming in. So there is no question the district has strict gun laws, but those around us do have more lax gun laws, which have allowed the district to be flooded with unlawful guns from those locations.
Exactly, flooded. And we are seeing that throughout this country, where guns are coming in from other jurisdictions with more lax gun laws. Before I yield to my good friend, I wanted to just note something. Please be aware, to those of you who are here today, that members on the other side of this aisle have argued in hearing after markup after hearing of defunding ATF, defunding the FBI. That is not a solution. That's actually contributing to the problem. We've got to stop demonizing. And with that, and we have to lift up that which is those who are working for us to make us safer. With that, I yield to my good friend, the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Ivey.
I thank the gentlelady, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me quasi-wave in today. I appreciate the chance to be here. I don't have enough time to cover all the things I want to chat about, but I do want to note that, yes, I was a former assistant U.S. attorney. I was here from 1990 to 1994, which was the height of the crack wars. D.C. averaged 450 to 500 murders per year during that time frame. And in fact, carjacking, I think, was invented during that time frame. So I understand the violent crime. I also understand that it went down pretty dramatically, and not for the reasons that have been presented here today. So I do want to emphasize that we want to have a serious approach to addressing these. Mr. Apt is someone actually I'm working with right now to try and bring to Prince George's County to address some of these issues. But smart on crime is more effective than tough on crime. I do want to challenge the suggestion. Yeah, Ms. Lee, I think, was saying, you know, we just need to be tougher, tougher, tougher. We saw that movie. That was 2.2 million people incarcerated from incarcerating people for everything. And that was marijuana on up. I do want to say, yes, we want to be tough on serious violent offenders. And after I left the U.S. Attorney's Office, I became the state's attorney in Prince George's County, which is the border of D.C. And we're still working to try and coordinate things with D.C. and as we bring this down. But guns is a key piece. I note that a lot of the crimes that have been discussed here involve guns. Most of the gun cases that are involved are the ones we see on the news at night. Ghost guns, for example, and Ms. Appiah talked about guns coming from out of state. I can't get any Republican co-sponsors for any of the legislation we propose to try and address some of these problems, including ghost guns, which I think everybody will agree is a problem. And they don't even have to go to Virginia to get a ghost gun. They can just email the request and have it mailed into the district. So I'm sorry I won't have a chance to discuss the policing issues and the sentencing issues, because I appreciate the work you all do, but there are major differences, I think, between the solutions you're offering today and the best approaches to addressing the crime problem. So I apologize for running over, and hopefully I'll have a chance to do more later on in the hearing.
Gentleman's time has expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sobolewski, your experience is one that is a fear that many people walk around with daily and hope that they will not have to be the actual victim. And so I appreciate you coming and sharing your harrowing experience. And I'm sorry that that happened to you, and that the person who did that was insufficiently punished. And Mr. Jablonski, same sentiment for you. I thought about what I would do if I had been in the restaurant, just me and you and that guy, and what I would have done. Would I have come to your assistance? Would I have been as brave as your little son to stand there? You know, he couldn't do anything. I wondered what I would do in that situation. But I'm glad that you made it out of there okay, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that. And Ms. Richards, public safety employee, I'm very sorry that you don't feel safe doing your job, which is to help people. Very sorry about that. Detective Pemberton, thank you for your service. I understand that law enforcement is a difficult occupation, and a lot of people decide to leave a lower-paying police department, such as Washington, D.C., and go to one, after they get the training and some experience, go to another department where the stress levels are less and the pay is greater. So I'm not sure that I agree with the inference that what the civilian authority has enacted would cause a significant number of law enforcement officers to just resign and turn in their badge and do away with law enforcement. I just don't know if that is the way we should be thinking about things. But Mr. Apt, you are the founding director of the Center for the Study and Practice of Violence Reduction, and an associate research professor and senior fellow at the Council on Criminal Justice. So you've studied these issues. From your research, what are the specific drivers of violence at the macro and the micro level? And what has your research shown about how evidence-based prevention and intervention strategies can work alongside law enforcement strategies to reduce violent crime?
Sure. I think at the broadest macro level, I think that it's a combination of the factors that are pushing people towards crime and the factors that are pushing people against. So broadly speaking, factors like concentrated poverty push people towards crime, and then the society's response to those crimes is important as well. And so thinking broadly about those is important. On the micro level, I think the evidence shows that what's the strongest predictor of violence is previous violent behavior and previous exposure to violence. And so that's something that I think we can all agree that we need to focus on and take very seriously.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Apaya, do you have anything to add to that?
Sure. One of the things that we believe in the district is we need to address both what is acutely happening through enforcement or otherwise, but also root causes, which is why the district's the mayor has invested $100 million this year in affordable housing, an additional $18 million in access to mental health, untold amounts in recreation programs for young people, because I was in the juvenile justice system in this district working for now 11 years. And so we know interventions with our young people through recreation, through education, through mental health services and supports, those are all also prevention.
Yes, certainly. Things for young people to do after school and during the summer are very important. But I will close by just noting that 21 members of the 21 Republicans, when it came time to award the Congressional Gold Medal to police officers, Capitol Hill police officers, Washington, D.C. police officers who came to the aid of Capitol Hill police officers on January 6th, and 21 Republicans, including my friend, the chair of this very committee, voted to oppose that, has to be something that causes Detective Pemberton a loss of morale and maybe some decisions to resign. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman's time's expired. You may comment on that if you wish, Mr. Pemberton.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I mean, when we're talking about police response, particularly on that day, I think our members were happy to respond to the call for service.
Thank you so much.
He cut you off. I extended the time for you to answer. Were you able to respond?
I'll just continue, Mr. Chairman. I think that we understand that that's our duty, regardless of whether it's, a call for a stolen bicycle or whether there's a giant riot that occurs anywhere in the city. Our members are going to show up, and we're going to make sure that we bring that situation back under control. And we were happy to be there that day, and we were happy to be able to render that situation safe.
And you deserve a gold medal also.
Thank you, Mr. Detective Pemberton. And so I recognize myself for my 5 minutes. And I want to ask Ms. Richards, Mr. Sobolewski, Mr. Jablonski, thank you for being here. Your testimony is invaluable. And I think Mr. Sobolewski, Mr. Jablonski, you kind of addressed interaction with what I would call the victims' rights unit of the D.C. government. And I think that might have worked out. I didn't get a chance to hear, Ms. Richards, were you able to encounter victims' rights units?
No, sir.
There, no one from the prosecutor's office or social services came through for victims' rights to talk with you?
No.
Okay. But Mr. Sobolewski, Mr. Jablonski?
Yes, that is correct. They reached out to me. They were nice, and it's nice to have them, but it's no compensation for what, what police should be doing, what prosecutors should be doing,
right,
what judges should be doing. There shouldn't need to be this victims' rights unit or whatever it is. It should be elected officials or who's ever in the position of power enforcing laws that are already on the book.
Right. Mr. Jablonski?
Yes, I mean, the lady that reached out to me was very nice, and she offered services for mental health for me and my son. But, when I explained that I was upset with the plea and everything else, she was like, I can listen, but I can't do anything.
Yeah, so I guess that gets to the point here. Is it looks like except for in your case, Ms. Richards, you didn't have any interaction, but the real nub of this is the prosecutorial arm. Sounds like it failed our three witnesses here today. Mr. Sobolewski?
I think in part it's on the prosecutor, but it's also on the judges. And right, while it's happening here in D.C., it's nationwide, and it's a problem that scares me for someone who just got married. I want to bring kids into this society, and it scares me that we have kind of a prosecutorial rot and a judicial rot in our system, and that there needs to be accountability in that.
Thank you. So I'm going to direct the next question to you, Mr. Pemberton, Detective Pemberton. You listed 9 laws passed by the D.C. Council that have an impact on enforcement by the police, and one of those seemed to have included an elimination of qualified immunity. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm happy to say that that bill actually was not passed. It was introduced and debated, but thankfully that bill never made it to fruition. But it was included in the list because it goes to the sort of rhetoric that the council was engaged in and how the message that was sent to police officers about how they felt about them doing their jobs.
Right, and that rhetoric, and with the threat of removing qualified immunity, that has a suppressive effect on actual policing. In my experience in talking to officers from many jurisdictions, officers become more cautious because even if you, as you said, even if you follow the procedures, policies, constitution, statutes, you're at personal risk for liability. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think a big misnomer here about qualified immunity is that it applies to criminal charges. It doesn't. Qualified immunity just allows citizens to sue police officers as individuals if it were to be removed. So the suggestion there is that if a police officer were to go out and make a mistake, that a citizen could sue them for their own personal earnings, their savings, their home, their college savings. And that obviously creates a chilling effect on doing productive and proactive police work.
Thank you. Mr. Stimson, I want to ask you a question related to your comments about the OAG and should be eliminated and juvenile cases should be referred to U.S. District Attorney for D.C. The reason I asked that question is because I'm incredibly dissatisfied with the performance of Mr. Graves, who is the U.S. Attorney for the D.C. Do you trust him if he were given now jurisdiction or broader jurisdiction over juvenile cases, that he would actually enforce those? Would he prosecute those?
Well, first off, Mr. Chairman, I'm not proposing to eliminate the OAG. They're the city attorney, and they do a good job handling civil and other matters.
But moving
the criminal function into the U.S. attorneys by expanding the Superior Court division and adding a juvenile and traffic section like most city DA offices have. And look, there are good prosecutors in my old office. I'm disgusted at what happened in these 3 cases here. I'm ashamed, actually, of what happened in those cases. That wouldn't happen at a good DA office. Just wouldn't. But sunlight's a good disinfectant. According to your colleague, the ranking member, she's had a very productive conversation with Mr. Graves. He says the declination rate is coming down. I hope that's correct. I look forward to seeing the numbers, which are coming out soon. But the OAG holds on to as many juvenile cases as they can. So I think if you, to offer a solution, do what most big city DA offices do, put the juvenile section in the DA's office, and then exercise oversight over that office in an appropriate way, and change the law so that violent juvenile offenders can be handled in the adult court.
My time has expired. I regret that terribly because there's so much more to talk about with you. But that will conclude our hearing today. We have a submission for the record by Ms. Jackson Lee.
Thank you. I have an article dated March 13, 2023 that indicates cases were dropped because of incorrect information being given to the U.S. Attorney, and it was agreed to by then Police Chief Robert Conte, who indicated that we must have complete and good information to come in for cases to be prosecuted. Then I want to put into the record the response to Mrs. Stimson. There is no mandatory minimum penalty.
You cannot put into record a response, but you can put into the record the actual U.S. code if you'd like.
I will. There is no mandatory minimum penalty for 18 U.S.C. 922G, felon in possession of a firearm. There is one for in possession of a firearm in the committing of a crime. And my statement, I'm going to put that into the record, unanimous consent. I'm just going to mention, not put in the record at this time, Mr. Chairman. I think the record
you can't. You can't mention. You can't filibuster here
Trust and
now.
Integrity Act. Thank you. I yield back. Thank you for your courtesies.
You bet. Those will be admitted without objection.
Thank you. And can I thank the witnesses, as I know you will, and express my deep concern for the victims. And I hope they gained whatever we say today. I hope you gained that we want to work together to stop violent crime. and to stop more victims from accruing. Thank you to the District of Columbia. I yield back.
Thank you. I do thank our witnesses for testifying today, for coming here. I know that it was very difficult. Perhaps I would imagine for our victims who were witnesses. Appreciate your testimony, and also express my deepest regrets that you encountered what you encountered, as well as the time it will take to fully heal from that. And so may God bless you guys to feel his peace. But without objection, all members will have 5 legislative days to submit additional written questions for the witnesses or additional materials for the record. And without objection, the hearing is adjourned. And before I say that, it's too late now, I already said it, but I also want to get to the record my gratitude to our staff, and I know that the ranking member would extend her gratitude to her staff as well for preparing for this hearing today. With that,